Alright, so I want to make a quick video about Zed and the Season 10 preseason, and presumably in Season 10, unless significant changes are made again. And what it's going to affect him. How it's going to affect him. The only things that are changing, right, are lethality items and presence of mind. Presence of mind for normal Zed, unless you're going a very niche split pushing build, like I'll talk about later, is pretty much mandatory because of how strong it is. The energy restore and max energy capacity, and specifically how those work together, is very, very, very good. It is. I don't think there's a game that you probably shouldn't be running this on normal Zed. This is as it is now, just after 9.23 release. It could get hotfixed, it could get changed next patch to be weaker or different, whatever. But as of now, that's what I'm saying. For your other rune in there, Coup de Grace is what I think is best. You could go Tenacity rune, you could go... See, I would only recommend Tenacity. The other ones I just don't think are as good as Coup de Grace. Or Tenacity rune. Only Tenacity rune when they're super high CC that you're not realistically going to be able to dodge all of. But in general, I think you should default Coup de Grace. Unless you need something else specifically. Let's talk about items here. For Season 9, your core was Ghost, Dusk, LDR, BC. There were games where you built other stuff. Maybe you built Edge of Night, Fourth, or whatever. But this, most of the time, was pretty much your core. Your four main items. And you finish it off with boots and whatever item you needed. Steric, PD, Mod, Mercurial, GA, anything like that you needed for your last item. And obviously, LDRs and interchangeable for more reminder if you needed the healing cut. The only thing changing about these items is Dusk is losing its Blackout passive and Youmuu's is gaining Ghosting with the active. So Youmuu's is even better now, actually. Not by much, it doesn't really do a whole lot, but Youmuu's is still technically buffed. Youmuu's is... You're still going to rush Youmuu's. It is too good not to rush. The move speed is it. The move speed is, sorry. Not too good not to rush. For second item, I've heard some people say Sanguine, I've heard some people say Umbral Third, and I've all this kind of stuff. Duskblade is losing its D-Warning passive and gaining AD. But let me tell you why the D-Warning passive does not matter, that we're losing that. Yes, it hurts to lose. Yes, it's going to affect you in a way, but it's not enough to warrant not building the item or whatever, especially when you're gaining more AD from it now. With Duskblade passive, when they Stalker passive, as I'm sure a lot of you know, you're able to see when you're on a ward. So when you can see when you're on a ward, you don't need to... You can then pop Oracle and clear it, right? If you go up to a ward with Duskblade and it automatically procs and clears it, the ward range is actually bigger than your Duskblade range was. Then, alright, it's not anymore, but I guess Umbral Glaive will probably work the same way. The range that the ward can see you is further from when it gets disabled. And if they just place the ward and it's disabled, they already know that you're probably there. So it's not actually going to matter that much that you don't have that, because they could be able to see for a second anyway. So now, you just see when the passive goes away, and then you pop your Oracle and you can clear the wards. It's not that big of a change. It doesn't do as much as people are making out to do. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it would be nice to have it still. But it's not killing the item. It's still a very strong second buy. LDR and BC... I think are pretty self-explanatory. LDR is just, it's the highest damage for a third item you can get. There's not much else to say besides that, especially if they build armor, it's even better. Even if they don't, it's still more damage to their item than like an Umbral or a Edge of Night or anything. Black Cleaver last, I say this because not only is Black Cleaver just a really good item for Zed in general, because of the shred and the HP and everything, but the CDR is your biggest concern because when you're running Presence of Mind, you don't have the option of going Transcendence or anything. And if you go scaling CDR rune, that means that if you build any more CDR, then you basically don't have a primary rune, or a primary stat rune. Because it's useless after that point. And the scaling CDR rune isn't good until it scales up. So it's doesn't make sense to run scaling CDR rune if you're gonna build Black Cleaver, which I think you should be. You could go scaling CDR and say CDR boots, and then not build Black Cleaver at all. That's an option. I personally think Black Cleaver will still be better, but that is an option. There's also Umbral Glade that gives 10% CDR if you want to build that fourth, go CDR boot, or build that fourth and go CDR rune or whatever to get towards that 40%. All of those are possibilities. They're not bad, I just think Black Cleaver 3rd, or Black Cleaver 4th, excuse me, will still be better. Especially with Presence of Mind. Giving you as much teamfight prowess. Having the 40% clean cap, like that's going to help a lot. So that explains Preseason 10. Obviously, it's pretty much the same thing for last item as Preseason 9, except I wouldn't recommend getting a lethality item last. They're not really good after that point. Like getting a Edge of Night or Umbral or whatever last item like that is not really worth it anymore, I don't think, because it's less lethality, and you could. I wouldn't recommend it, but going, Sterak, PD, QSS, Maw, whatever you need after that point, I think would be better. GA, stuff like that. So that covers Season 9, or Season 10, preseason build, sorry. Now the split push niche build I'm talking about. When you have a Youmuu's Sanguine, which is what I think will be the core for the split push build. Oh, actually, let me quickly discuss the new lethality items. Edge of Night, it's basically changed. It's identical passive to Banshee. It's legit the exact same passive. Same unique passive. It's only 10 lethality, less AD, and I don't know if the health... I think the health is like 25... No, it's not 25 more. I don't know. Still quite a bit of health. The item is not bad. When you need a Banshee's passive, it's not a bad item to get as a last item. The only issue with it is that it's just a worse option than the others. It's not shit. It's just not as good as your other options. The other item, Umbral Glaive, or the other item that I'm talking about right now, at least. Umbral Glaive, your lethality, blackout passive, AD, and CDR. Like I said, you could slot it in if you want to do another CDR build, or if you want to do CDR build with either Scaling Rune or Boots. I explained why I don't think you need, blackout passive isn't that big of a deal to be losing. It is only 12 lethality, and while it costs 2,400 gold, which is pretty cheap, all things considered, it's still an item slot that you have to take up. Where you could be having something like a LDR or a Youmuu's to the Moose Beat or something like that in it instead. Again, I think this falls under another case of that it's not a bad item. It's not horrible, it's just there's better options. That covers my feelings on those. And for the split push build, Youmuu's and Sanguine Blade. Sanguine is the one I hear everyone, or hear at least a lot of people talking about that aren't quite, I don't know, say up to speed, but haven't looked into preseason a lot. 50 AD, 50% lifesteal, 10 lethality, and its whole Blood Pursuit passive. Blood Pursuit passive is basically a split pushing passive. It takes the fundamental aspect of split pushing of getting two people to rotate because they can't 1v1 you, and turns it up to 11. But you get by getting more lethality and attack speed while you're only with one person or alone. With one enemy or alone, that is. The range of it, from where two people have to be, is about from Nexus Turret to Inhib. So you're not going to be getting... Nexus Turret to middle Inhib, sorry, right there. You're not going to be getting it in team fights, or if two people rotate to you, your passive's gone. So it's basically, once you lose the passive, it's very golden efficient. 10 lethality, 50 AD, and 15% lifesteal. Lifesteal is only on your autos, right? So when you're team fighting a Zed with lifesteal, it's not going to really do anything unless you're getting consistent autos off, but you're not going to be getting consistent autos off in a team fight. So the passive is really... It's basically a noob trap if you're not building split push. If you are building split push, I think that this item opens up a new build path as a split push champion. Whether it's really good or not, that's up for question, but I think it will be... I think it will be good. It could be horrible. I don't know, but it opens up the possibility. In general, though, if you're not going this split push build or a split push build of some kind, I would stay away from the item. It's just inefficient. For said split push build, Youmuu's, Sanguine, I think Black Cleaver, right? So you're 30 CDR, you have Black Cleaver HP and Shred, you have Youmuu's and Sanguine. So you have something to do with your attack speed, which is shredding. Then I think you want an item that gives you something to do with that attack speed. Just attack speed on its own isn't good. That's why you see ADCs will get AD, but they won't just build 4 Zeal items. You need AD to do any damage with your autos. And yes, you're building AD here, but you're not building, you don't have an IE 25% crit passive or anything like that. So what you want is something else attack speed related. You could go Bork, which is what I think will be the better for this build. Or you could go PD or I don't think you should go Shiv, but guess you could. Some other on hit. For simplicity's sake, we'll go Bork here. So this will give you, what would it be, 27% lifesteal on your autos, your 90 AD, the Bork passive, the Bork active. You get the point. The next item in your kit, I think, is obviously a boots as well. So your last item is another situational thing. If you need a Last Whisper item, because the person trying to match you has 8 billion armor, you could do that. If you need Maul, you could do that. If you need QSS, if you need GA, if you need Sterax, if you want fucking PD, I don't care. Whatever you need for your last item, then you should get there. But in general, these 4, you could swap this for PD. But these 4 will be your kind of your core for the split push build. In summary, your core build's pretty much not changing at all in this season, at least as of now. Presence of Mind will be mandatory unless you're building a kind of trolley split push build. And the new lethal items are not bad, they're just situational. They're just not good buys unless the game specifically calls for it, or if you're doing a very specific build. But I think that covers pretty much anything. If there's any questions left up, just let me know and I'll feel free to give my opinion on them.